Yeah, you know what? It is a progressive disease. In fact, whenever I do commitments, I talk about that. It's so progressive. You don't realize what it can do to you. And if I go back in time, I look at our days at Exodus, my days at Miracell, I've been in high tech sales for 35 years, actually longer than that, like 38 years. But back then, I was probably a normal drinker, right? You go, you have a drink here and there, you go to a client, maybe have a couple, but nothing out of control or out of the ordinary. You go to sales kickoff, yeah, you probably overconsume, right? You go to a president's club, you definitely overconsume, but it was never, ever, ever a problem, right? And if I look at my time, and my story's not that exciting, but if I look at my life when I started way back when, both my parents were definitely alcoholics, right? Back then, that was really probably pretty normal for most people, right? They would drink every day, have their Bud Lights or their Schlitz or whatever they were drinking. I definitely come from a long line of alcoholics, right? It's just something that happens. But, I was pretty much a normal person. High school, college, I never really overconsumed. I was never the one that would drink constantly. And just like you said, it would just never seemed to be an issue. But I just knew in the back of my mind at some point it could be, right? Because things do progress. If I look at, my career over time, like I said, I was probably normal for 15, 20 years at least. In fact, I think, who knows, when I've truly went off the rails, right? I think you tend to forget a lot of things as you're progressing through this, right? I would never have alcohol in the house, or very rarely. I would never drink beer in the house, or I'd have it in my refrigerator. But all of a sudden, I started drinking, getting into IPAs, right? And those IPAs, those things were 9%. And you drink a couple of those here and there. They tasted horrible at first, but you kind of get used to the taste and they start tasting better, right? Like, oh, you have a couple of IPAs, right? As I progressed through my sales career, I started getting promoted, started getting, big level jobs, and the stress just, goes through the roof, right? You just have forecast calls you have to deal with, sales teams that you have to hire, fire, manage, and lead, right? It just gets extremely stressful over time.